Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRN-FM, and I'm joined by the incredible Michael J. Russ. I want to welcome you, Michael, and thank you for making the time to join me each week, and also say thank you to all of our audience members who do the same. So
yes.
How are you today?
I'm awesome. It's a big, beautiful sunny day, finally no rain, and I'm loving it. Sunshine makes me happy.
Oh, how nice. And you and I both survived the super full moon lunar eclipse. I don't know if you noticed anything, but I felt an incredible sense of peacefulness. I did a little personal ceremony myself and just kind of thought about different things. It was a time to release whatever was standing in the way of my own empowerment from the different things that I read. And I thought, you know what better time to take a look and really sort of decide where I wanted to be and what I wanted to create, because it completely is an amazing time to manifest, and also about metamorphosis, what you want to become. I'm just curious, Michael, did you do anything special on the full moon lunar eclipse?
I think in the morning I walked an infinity circle I've done it about 4 or 5 times in the past week. Walked an infinity circle before I meditated, and I had some good meditations. I've been very, very focused because I'm leaving town on Saturday, so I've been focused on positivity, on manifesting exactly everything that I want before I leave, and it's been coming together. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah, I was keeping it pretty simple. The moon's absolutely gorgeous. The waxing gibbous was beautiful. The full moon was gorgeous, and it's been glorious because it comes over. I look outside my dining room French doors, and I can see anywhere back of the window, the back of the house, and it just comes up over the trees. It's absolutely so gorgeous, so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
On the full moon. And I looked at the planetary alignments as far as after the sun went down and where the other planets were aligned, and I could see where that eclipse would occur. If you're in a certain part of the world, you would definitely see it. But,
yeah. Oh, I was grateful for what we got to see here in this hemisphere. And somebody mentioned that the planets are aligning in what they call a kite formation, and they said, I apologize, I can't remember if they said it hasn't happened like that for 4,000 years. So I have to do a
kite, K-I-T,
as in a K-I-T. Yeah, I'm going to have to find out a little bit more about that and what exactly that means. Yeah, it's interesting. I think on any moon, whether it be a new moon or a full moon or any moon, I sometimes find myself into this sense of reflection. And a lot of what I've been seeing right now has a lot to do with what you came in here in this lifetime to do, what your soul purpose was. And I've been sort of reflecting about that. And I thought all of the things lead me back to love. And as you know, my mind starts to wander, and I started thinking about what love truly is. For me, it's this beautiful flowing life force that I have an opportunity to share with others. It's within me. For I believe that love is a gift, and that being able to share that love unconditionally, truly unconditionally, without anything, is how we start to see beyond the illusions of any situation, no matter what it is. You bring yourself back to love. Pam Gregory says that all the time. Bring yourself back to love, no matter what's going on outside of you. And realizing that love isn't dependent on anybody else, is that it's a state that resides within us. And I think I mentioned to you, Michael, there was an interesting account, and it has to do with not just love, self-love, love of others, but it was a story about this monk, and he was with his master, and the master said, I want you to go into the town, because he was asking him questions about his own worth, his own sense of purpose. What am I worth? What is the reason that I'm here? And the master said to him, I want you to take this stone into the market, and I want you to place it in your hand, and I don't want, if somebody asks you how much it is, don't tell them, just offer it to them. And so he did that. He walked up to this woman and held out his hand, and she looked at him and she said, how much for your stone? And he said, nothing. He just held out his hand, and she said, he looked at the 2 fingers that the stone rests on, $2. And then somebody else came up and said, well, if that stone is being brought down from the mountains by a monk, it's got to be valuable. I'm going to offer you $20 for it. And then somebody else came up and said, well, I could carve that stone, and how about $200? And then somebody else said, well, if you carve that stone, then it would be worth probably $2,000 because it's going to be a piece of art. And then yet another person said, well, you know what, if it's worth $2,000 and then it's put into a museum, then it's going to be worth $20,000. But then yet another person said, wait. Once it's in a museum, it's going to be invaluable to an art collector. How about $200,000? So the young monk was all excited. He came back and he said, Master, this is what I have seen. And he said, somebody offered $200,000 just for a stone. So please tell me, what's the greatest value of my life? And the monk looked at me and said, you already have discovered the answer to your own question. Your greatest value is just like that stone. At the market, it's for $2, $20. If it's in a museum, $2,000, upwards of $200,000. The value of your life is exactly where you place yourself to be. The decision is yours to make. And I thought, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's very powerful. Very powerful.
Wow.
It's what you
determine.
Love it.
We determine our own worth. And so I guess in that aspect, in how I judge myself, and am I being the most loving being that I can be? And I'm presented with those opportunities at every juncture of my day, no matter what it is. The chance to smile at somebody, however it is. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Michael, about this subject, because it's been bubbling in my mind, and we always seem to go some different places. We just sort of allow ourselves to feel that love and hopefully make the world a better place to be.
It's interesting. I love the story. And it's a great parable for understanding self-worth. It's whatever we see ourselves as. And then, we live in a society that is where people are allowing outside interests, outside forces to determine what our worth is. And that's really, in my view, the key takeaway from this parable. If that particular monk could choose any one of those things, and they all came from outside sources, so why wouldn't you choose the highest? Why wouldn't you go the highest? Would you see yourself as being less than and go, 2,000, or would you say to yourself, I don't really believe I'm worth 200,000. How about 20,000? It's a great story to exemplify that we have the power to make our own destiny, to make our own worth, to create our own value. And I love that about it. It's fantastic. And a lot of time we have a tendency to cut off our legs at the knees. We literally, so to speak, we devalue ourselves. And I see this when you give. I used to have when someone gave me something, I would kind of in my mind tussle with, whether to accept it. No, you don't really have to do that. You don't have to do that. Until one day, after reading something, I think it was from Deepak Chopra, it was like 25 years ago, I said, and it was talking about this subject in a different way, about self-worth, and that we are worthy of the very best life has to offer, which I say to myself quite often now.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I am worthy of the very best that life has to offer. If someone drives up and gives me the keys to their Ferrari, I'm not going to say, hey, I'm not worthy. I'm going to say, thank you very much, and I'm going to drive it, and then I'm going to pass it on to someone else. I'm going to enjoy this or as long as I can enjoy this, and that's it. And I started saying, just thank you, be incredibly grateful, instead of these conflicting thoughts about whether I was worthy of whatever, making that much money that day or that month or that year. Success, when we place our value on something outside of ourselves, if we dictate our value based on some outside influence of any kind, it's kind of a hollow thing. It doesn't have there's no commitment there. It has no legs to stand on, so to speak, because if we value ourselves at 20,000 and we're really worth 200 or 2 million or 200 million, that's what we feel we want to place, the value we want to place on ourselves. It comes back to us. It's a hollow kind of a thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like when you allow something outside of you to dictate your level of success. When someone says, "Here's your goal," right? Somebody gives you a goal, and like your boss or something gives you a goal and says, "You need to achieve this, this month or this quarter," and then you strive every day to meet that goal, and then you surpass that goal tremendously. Because it didn't come from within you, the feelings about it are going to be different because it was a goal somebody else set. You understand what I'm saying?
So true.
When you set your own goal, when you set your own value, and you live up to that value, and you live from that value, it has greater meaning to you than if somebody else told you your value. And regardless, and what we've got today is a lot of people telling us our value, telling us our worth. This is what you're worth. And the unfortunate thing is, that's a thought virus. If you start believing that what somebody says about you that's negative, then you've just contracted that thought virus, and now it's going to impact all of your perceptions and all of your feelings and thoughts and actions and responses going forward. And these things are everywhere. I could spend my entire day going through and looking at thought viruses that exist on the internet and in social media and in all advertising. Advertising is driven by thought viruses. They have to convince you emotionally. They have to convince you that you're worth less than without the product that they have to offer. And in that case, if you believe that, then you are going to act on their premise if you find their premise is valuable enough to fill that void of you not being worthy enough, right? That of what you really want to avoid. They don't want to say, "Hey, you get this thing, you're not only going to feel fabulous, but you'll be able to make your own decisions." Well, nobody wants to tell you that because they want to make your decisions for you. But I'm saying this, taking this route because we have to be practical about how we actually apply this value to ourselves. In my view, we've got to be practical about it.
Sure.
And how do you actually use this stuff we talk about on a daily basis? Well, in my view, it's seeing what outside influences are dictating that you are allowing to dictate your value. And we are invaluable. Our value is infinite as a human soul. We're all the same. We're just light beings in human form. We're non-physical beings living a physical life, and all of us is dictating whatever it is that we want in terms of our own value. Isn't that interesting? So someone who is actually, you don't have to be worth $1 billion to know that you are worth, that your value is $1 billion. You don't have to. And this is evidenced, by the way, by some studies that have shown people who have had the ability to actually write their own ticket when it comes to their employer. In other words, tell your employer what you want to make. And 9 times out of 10, the number will be lower than the one they really want to receive, right?
Right.
And it's just because we don't see our value. We don't see our worth. And we need to. Hey, let's stand up and say, I'm worthy. I'm worthy of the very best. I'm worthy of the most. I'm worthy of infinite everything. And because you are. You are.
Truly.
Only you. You're the one who dictates.
You're absolutely right. No, I was going to say, when you were speaking, Michael, it reminded me of conditionality, that I will be loved when I graduate college and I have achieve this degree. I will feel loved when I have the right house. I will feel loved when I have the right financial status. And it's really interesting, and I see it even in relationships with not just romantic relationships, but also with friends, that so often we place this heavy burden on others, expecting them to prove their love to us in specific ways, which can actually lead to self-doubt and a belief that we're only worthy of love if we meet these certain conditions and criteria, or vice versa. And as you said, being able to accept a gift from somebody, a lot of people have difficulty. I give things to people all the time. I see something, and I just think, oh, this would be perfect for that person. I pick it up. I'm not expecting anything out of it whatsoever. For me, to be able to give something to somebody because I have the financial means is an expression of love. It's one of the ways that I show love. I think about you when I'm not with you. I'm not doing it so that they value me or so that I can value myself. I'm doing it because I think about them. And I think that sometimes when we put that conditionality around love, it's hard for us to sort of see beyond the illusion of the situations that we find ourselves in. So then you have individuals who they get too close to feeling loved or appreciated, and so they'll pick a fight because it's easier for them to have conflict and to walk away than to allow themselves to be loved. And I see that, I see it unfortunately in social media when people comment. I had watched this one girl and she said, if you're going to write a nasty comment, please don't, because I'll block you. And I thought, well, good for her. She feels enough self-worth that she can say, you know what, I'm not going to do that. But I think it is when you place that big responsibility on somebody and to value you, it really has to come back to you seeing yourself, and demonstrate to yourself that love in certain ways. If it means, like for me, go out and get an ice cream cone. That's something loving that I do for myself. Sharing times with my friends. I enjoy the company of my animals. Those are things that I do for myself, and it's okay. I'm not looking to be accepted because I live a very unconventional lifestyle in order to be lovable. I mean, I feel that I have a lot to offer, and I understand that love is who I am. It's part of who I am, and it's one of the gifts that I believe that I sort of came into this world with, to be able to see through those loving eyes and live my life as an example. And I believe that same is true for you. And I think each one of our audience members, it's absolutely 100% true. Because again,
I agree.
please.
How about when somebody says, when you want to give them something to somebody and they say, "What's the catch?" That's also that question alone is a dead giveaway for the fact that you don't believe you're worthy of whatever it is that's being given to you, because there's some sort of condition you believe attached to it. In other words, it's not real. It's not a real offer. It's just very interesting. We've been taught to if someone sits around and does everything in their emotional power to manifest their way out of a situation financially, where they want a certain amount of dollars to take care of a certain thing, and then someone comes along and answers their prayer or their meditation or their wish and says, "Here you go," in whatever fashion it arrived, and then they turn around and question it, expecting fully that that's not the way that they wanted it to come. Like, how did you want it to come? Did you want to get a lottery ticket?
Right.
Get it that way or whatever? You put conditions, as you were saying, conditions on receipt, conditions on your own self-worth. And it's interesting. I find that it's freeing to be able to say thank you and know in your mind, I am worthy of whatever this is. I'm worthy of it, right? You're worthy of being upgraded to first class when you flew to Toronto. You're worthy of getting the better vehicle from the rental car gal.
Thank you.
You're worthy of it. I mean, it's like, why would you think otherwise? I get those kinds of things happen to me, and I'm going to tell you that I have to say this to our audience, that again, you in a way for a week to see your aunt. And the most wonderful thing about that is that your entire trip was a lesson for everybody else in understanding that when you live from love and kindness and empathy and compassion, it is reflected back to you in spades without ever needing to ask. It's just people offer, because that's what you attract. And your whole trip was a mirror of that. And I just wanted to say that because, it needs to be said that when you travel, and I travel a lot. I'll be leaving in a couple of days to go away for another week, and I've had 3 trips in the last 4 months. It's when you leave and you expect that it's going to be stressful. You say it's going to be stressful. That's the language you're using. You're setting up this whole trip to be, I hate flying. Oh, I hate that. I hate standing in rental car lines. I hate doing this. I hate doing that. It's like, well, why are you bothering to go? You're already taking your expectations and your perceptions of everything that you're about to partake in, that you really paid good money for and expect to have fun at. You've just walked all over it, and you're creating a completely different experience for yourself. Somebody says, how long is the flight to South Africa? 22 hours. Okay, great. How many fun things can I do in 22 hours? That's the way I look. Right?
Sure.
I can sleep. I can have great wine. I can have awesome meals. I can see some movies that I hadn't had time to watch at home. I can,
write a chapter to your book, your newest book.
I can write a chapter for a book. I can converse with Lisa via WhatsApp text. I can do whatever. It's kind of interesting. I can think of a dozen things to do on a flight that's that long, and I've been on flights that long. I know people, though, that say, oh, I could never do that. I could never be 22 hours in a cabin at 39,000 feet. I would go stir crazy. I would be bored. I wouldn't know what to do. Yeah. You could also think about what you were going to do when you got there. You could also do some further planning. You could envision the time you were going to have and experiences that you were going to have. I mean, you could literally set it up. But our perceptions drive everything. And the thing we often forget is that those perceptions drive the experience we have from the moment we get to the airport. You wonder why things become challenging. It's because you set the challenge up to occur. You brought that challenge to you by the thinking that you were having about what it is that you're going to do. So I look at trips as being awesome. Everything's going to be smooth. It's fantastic. Yeah, we got 3 hours. I had 6 hours in an airport on the way to Turkey last year, a year ago this week. 6 hours in the Frankfurt airport. Boy, I could think of some really cool things to do in six hours, and we did. Go to the lounge, go meet some people, go do some window shopping, check out the cultures, see the people, get a cup of coffee, get a cappuccino. I mean, I could think of all kinds of things, And yet, somebody would say, when I tell people that, they go, "Oh gosh, I could never be 6 hours on a layover. Oh my gosh, that would be torture." Really? That's just crazy, I mean, but that's what we create the experience. This is what I mean by when we say to our audience, when you create your reality in every moment based on the perceptions that you actually have. You wonder why life is so tough. It's because you perceive it as being tough. You perceive it as hard and difficult. You perceive that certain things that come your way are impossible. Oh my gosh, that's impossible. You say that, and that's what you get. You give what you get what you give. Excuse me. You give out challenge, strife, difficult, hard. That's what's going to be reflected right back at you in a myriad of different ways. So, it's pretty.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, Michael. It's a great reminder. Don't ever get bogged down by the trivial matters. Like, is this going to matter? My one flight was delayed, and I had a wonderful 3-hour extra. Sit down, have a great meal, watch the sunset, interact, people watch. It was fantastic. I was so completely relaxed. And then when it was time, they did board. I was on the flight, fell asleep, came back on the red eye. Next morning, I was good to go.
I love red
And
eye.
it's breaking free of the limiting beliefs that keep us from growing. And really how we want to show up in our life. And I think you had sent me a quick video today, and there was something that it was from Esther Hicks with Abraham, and Abraham said they were talking about electricity in the walls of your house. And they said it flows in and out throughout the day, and you don't see it, you don't notice it until you plug something into the outlet and your device powers up. Exactly. And I love that. I totally love that because, you know what, because it reminded me truly like love. You know, love is in us. We don't see it. It's an energy. And again, it's free flowing. It's always available. We can choose to embrace the love. We can resist it. We can fight it within ourselves. We can fight with others. But it's our reality. But we have that opportunity to connect with our true essence, the purpose of who we truly are. And I really love that analogy about the electricity, because it is truly, I mean, from the time it goes from the power plant through all the electrical cables, I mean, it's just constantly flowing. And so maybe, this is just my wondering, that if we choose to recognize that love is the energy of who we are, we can allow ourselves to be in this world and really make it a better place, because we beam some love from your heart to the person across the street, the stranger that you don't know across the mall or the parking lot or in the drive-thru, which is the other video that you sent me that was, I had a little bit of a hard time with it.
It was a great video. That was a humorous thing.
It was comical. It was comical for sure.
Yes, it was hilarious.
But I think that it goes back to that same thing. Like, what is the understanding of what do you want to flow, and what are your gifts, and really that unconditionality. Whether it be unconditional love, that's what I love about animals. They love you unconditionally. It doesn't matter how long you were gone. When you walk in that door, they just wag their tail, and they're so happy to see you. And it truly is a blessing, and it's absolutely amazing. And it allows us to, go ahead, please.
No, please. It allows you to.
Oh, I was just going to say, really, keep your frequency high. And for me anyway, it does. It's that unconditional love. And I think the more that you elevate your frequency, the more that you're attracting more love in, the more situations that you're having. Like when you walk up to the gate and somebody says, well, this is a full flight, but guess what? We're going to bump you up to first class. You look at them, you smile and say, well, thank you.
I deserve that. In your mind, you're going, I deserve this. I deserve this. I deserve all the best things in life. And this is just a living manifestation of my belief that I deserve the very best. Otherwise you get the opposite. It's interesting because something that came to mind while you were speaking there is that we keep ourselves from having a fun time in this life. Mm. We're the ones who we do that to ourselves. Life is meant, we heard it before from Esther Hicks, from Carol Collins and the teachers, from Bashar, and everybody, Abraham, everybody who's connected to Source and Source Energy said, look, you're here to have fun. Mm-hmm. And that means that you can maintain that atmosphere of fun you can have the thought process of fun. You can make life fun, or you can not. It's up to you. And people will, blow back and say, well, what do you mean make life fun? What about all these things? I said, those things are outside of you. They have nothing to do with you and what you think. You can say, I'm having fun, regardless of what's going on. You get your flight gets canceled. You got the choice of sitting around in the airport moping and complaining, or you can figure out how to get out of there. Maybe you need to wait a day or two, and if you have the capability, you can leave the airport and you can go to a hotel. You can do that. You can do something within the airport. Yeah, it's extremely crowded, but it's the frame of mind that you set that determines whether or not you have fun. If you make a decision that you are going to have fun in this life, then you will see, that's what you'll see around you, is ways to have fun. And your world will validate that that's what you are thinking, your main state of mind. And that's one of the things. I sent you a different text video that I didn't even get a chance to finish on the way home. It was so absolutely amazing, talking about just this very thing, that the frequencies, it's based on the fact that we cannot attract a frequency we're not resonating first ourselves. Okay, that understood. How do we get and maintain that frequency? Well, it starts in the morning. How do you start your day? Do you start your day with things that are fun, that enhance how you feel when you get out of bed? Do you approach everything from taking a shower to brushing your teeth to, whatever it is you turn on the TV or radio? Do you approach that from a perspective of fun? What are you allowing into your mind? What are you thinking? What are the thoughts about your day? How are you looking at the day as going to be a nightmare, or are you looking at it as a really fun time doing a lot of different things? That's the challenge that we have every single day. And as humans, the one who's making life not fun is us. We make that choice every single moment of the day. If we could just ask ourselves, am I having fun? How can I have fun doing this? This thing that I don't really want to do. How can I have fun with this? Right? Yeah, I'm serious.
Yep.
Oh, hang on. Bald eagle alert. Nope, that's not a bald eagle. It's gray heron. My apologies. It looked like a bald eagle for a second, but I get bald eagles that fly by a lot, and herons are in this area. And I apologize to our audience, but it's just the way it goes. Bald eagle alert.
No, you know what, though? There's actually no reason to apologize, because guess what, Michael? Those eagles bring you joy. Those herons bring you joy. You're moving towards your joy. When you appreciate, those are simple little things that you appreciate in your day. It makes you smile. It makes you happy. And the more that you do that, then you're raising your frequency, you're raising your vibration, and things manifest more quickly. And one of the other takeaways I got from that video that you had sent me was, and I loved it because Abraham started off by saying, you are an extension of source energy. So be eager, be passionate, be in love with life, be joyful, and she just went into all of these wonderful words of appreciation. And that's how you create the change in the world that you want to see. You are an extension of source energy. So you become that frequency that you want to attract. And it really, truly, and I have watched it, energy moves so fast, just like the energy in the electrical wires. We can't see it, but the more that things you accumulate, it's energy, and then all of a sudden it manifests into the 3D. So if I want to manifest in wonder and love and joy and all of these other things, guess what? I've got to learn to shift myself pretty darn quickly, because oftentimes, and I know that you know this, it's easy, you just have to switch your energy, because a lot of times we have these little speed bumps in our day that give us a reminder. Are you moving towards your own inner light, or are you going to move away from it? Where are you going to resonate from? What is going to happen? And you really do. You have to go back and maintain that sense of inner peace. You embrace every challenge as some opportunity that will propel you forward. And I look at it, and somebody used, I can't remember who I was listening to, but I made a mental note of it because I loved the way that they grounded this. They said, maintain your own pillar of consciousness. And I thought, wow, like that pillar of salt, like you just anchor yourself in and you become, and how tall is the pillar? I don't know. How wide is the pillar? I don't know. But if I'm my own pillar of consciousness, I've got to be pretty mindful of what I am creating and what I want to bring forth into this world. and then really maintain that. And I love the fact that you brought up fun, joy, whatever it is. I truly believe that it's who we are and why we're here, and
True.
Be in this world.
I something that came to mind when you were talking is something I wrote in my book, The Diversity, back in 2014, and I truly believe this and use this on a daily basis, and it's something we have to be ever mindful of, and that is that when you mention speed bumps, I have come to the determination that many of the speed bumps that we encounter throughout the day have nothing to do with us directly. They're things that the events that occur that we are exposed to, and we have been taught to give them an investment of our emotional energy and our vibration. Mm-hmm. We've been taught that we needed to make a judgment about them, that we need to make some sort of investment emotionally or responsibly, even if we're by ourselves. And I contend, and I posited in my book, that you could literally live a more fun, exciting, joyful, happy existence. You could do it much more rapidly when you recognize the difference between something that's happening to you directly and something that's happening to you indirectly, something that you have no personal involvement in. You read something, mm-hmm. you read an article, you're doing fine, you're having, such a great time, boom, 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 and all of a sudden you see something. And that thing that you see has nothing to do with you directly. It's just something you're exposed to, right? And you then feel as if you have to feel a certain way, make a judgment about it, and it takes you right off that rail of joy and fun and happy, right? It just moves you gently off of it, and then you have to turn around and expend effort to get back, which means you have to shift. And what we do is we've been taught to judge everything. And when
sure.
we lose that judgment, when we just see things for what they are and just give them those events love and loving energy, that's what we do. We send loving energy. I drive down the road, I see a car accident. Instead of saying, oh, my gosh, so bad, it's so terrible, blah, blah, I say, I'm sending some loving energy, and I hope everyone there is okay. And
I do the same thing.
Don't invest in it. We have to not invest
sure.
in things. Our energy is our energy. Staying on the frequency of the higher frequencies that allow us to receive whatever it is that we're seeking to manifest. It means we have to stay in that mode. And that means we have to mitigate everything that attempts to take us out of that mode. And a lot of that stuff has nothing to do with us personally. If you never read the thing that upset you, you'd still be happy. You'd be joyful. If you never saw the thing on TV that upset you, right, you would be just fantastic. And that's mm-hmm. what I'm talking about. It's like Pam Gregory said, I turn off the radio. I don't watch the news, and she curates her life so that what she experiences and what she focuses on is joy and love and happiness and fun. And from that stems a lot of creativity, a lot of inspiration, a lot of intuition. She's literally allowing space for that to come in. She's not filling her life
mm-hmm.
in her space with all of these things that really don't impact her directly. Yeah, she's alert to the fact that there's a war in Ukraine and there's strife going on in the Middle East and et cetera. But as she said, which is not something that is unique to her, because I've heard it from a lot of different people, and that's simply that when we sit down and focus on love and we send love to that region, it's not in vain. It has an impact because we are all source energy. And when you send loving source energy to combine with other source energy, it expands. Love is an expanding frequency. So is happiness and joy and fun.
Is.
So they're continually expanding. And when we begin to think about the strife, it's contracting. The energy
mm-hmm.
contracts. So we have to keep the positive love and joy and happiness, kindness and empathy and compassion, keep that energy expanding. And we can do that with our minds. We can do it with our minds. We don't need to get involved and judge and talk about it on social media and discuss it in roundtables with our friends, that's a downer. It's much more effective and efficient and workable to get together and just say, okay, we're going to close our eyes for a minute. We're going to focus on sending love to that area of the world. Love. Just see all the people in that whole area of the world just embraced in a loving light. Everybody's receiving love, and everybody's getting what they need and what they want through love. That has much more viability. It's much more effective than dropping to the lower frequencies and getting upset, which contracts the energy in that area, contracts the love. And I tell that to so many people, and they're like, "What?" Yeah. It's not blasphemy to send love in a situation. It's actually the thing that's going to be most effective. And when we all start doing that, instead of the opposite, dropping into the lower frequencies of anger and fear and judgment and all that actually feeds the issue. That's the problem, so to speak. It feeds that negativity that's already festering in that area. We don't want to feed it. We want to transmute it. And that's how we do it.
Right. Well, and I think that was part of the whole thing that really inspired me with this full moon in Pisces, being that I'm a Pisces. I have an opportunity to take a look at the things that perhaps maybe I don't want to admit about myself or face about myself, that I can actually transmute and alchemize into a space of love, rather than walking away from it, which is a lot of times you'll see that if somebody will sort of push your buttons, and all of a sudden you're a mirror for them, and they see you as a catalyst. It's like, oh my gosh, I've actually got to face this in my life, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to close it out, end the cycle, elevate themselves, have a deeper knowing of what it is that they want. When you cannot experience fear and love at the same time. So when you drop into that heart space and allow that love to flow, everything becomes easier. It is not as challenging as what people have thought about. But sometimes, we will put ourselves, you wonder, why did this show up? You call something into your life and you say, well, this situation showed up. I didn't want that. Guess what? On an energetic level, perhaps you did. And so if you have an opportunity, rather than have it resurrect itself over and over and over again, look at it, love it, choose to walk away with a different emotion, embrace it, find gratitude, find the beauty in it, find the love in it, and really magnify the loving person that you are. There's lots of different ways that we demonstrate love, and it can be, like, as you said, giving somebody a gift, or allowing somebody to pull into the lane. You're waiting to merge, and you look at them and like, oh no, I can't let that car get in front of me. I watch those games all the time. And then no matter what it is, just love on it.
Yeah.
Don't get into
trouble. Invest love into it instead of the opposite. Invest love into the situation. You never know where it can take you. And you never know how far it will take you, and it will take you farther than what you think. You will farther than you think you'll go, and that's the beauty of it. I was telling somebody about my YouTube golf site, Golf with Michael J, and I said, it's interesting how when we engage in things, because to me golf's a mirror of life, and I focus on this love aspect of things. Love on yourself wholly and fully. Love on your game. Love on the course you're playing. Love on appreciation that you're in a situation where you can actually do that. You have the ability to make all these choices, and we do. We make literally thousands of choices a day, and when we use love as the foundation for the choice that we're making, things change. Everything changes. And I find that when I leave this house, when I'm in this house, number one, I'm thinking that. But when I leave this house, I get the the joy of being able to bring love to other people through a big smile and a wonderful, like, hey, how are you, Jenna? Because she's wearing the name badge that says Jenna, and I catch that for a split second, and I'm using her name because that's what name badges are for, so you'll know who they are, right? And I just love it. You know, I'm going in to pay for gas. Hey, Hakeem, how are you? Or hey, David, or whatever. You know, hey, you know, Rosales, how are you? What's going on? You having a good day? Yeah, great. Give me something on so-and-so.
I was going to say I had that same interaction right before my trip. I went and got some. There's a supply place that I buy a lot of my food, and the girl's name, I looked at her. I had actually pulled a card from a deck that I have, and the card for the day was Hope. And as she's checking me out, I looked at her name tag, and I said, it was Hope. Yeah. And I thought, wow. I said, there's your confirmation. And I explained to her, and we had the most delightful conversation. So, of course, when I got back, I had to go get some new supplies. And who was there but Hope? And I didn't even have to look at her name tag because, first of all, she has such a beautiful face and such a sweet disposition and just so kind. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, hi, Hope. How are you? And both of us, we had such a beautiful interaction, and she's just delightful. She's an embodiment of love. She's an extension of that and that connection.
It's wonderful when that occurs, and it happens to me so often. It's insane, and I know it's because that's what I'm resonating. That's the frequency I'm resonating, and I come to expect it, and I do not expect anything other than that, because and it validates itself constantly. Servers in restaurants and people seating us. The person who's checking us in at an airport. You know, hey, you're leaving again? Yeah, we're going somewhere again. And they're going, yeah, it's fantastic. How's your day going today? Oh, I know you got up at 4:30 in the morning, so I know you're going to, you know. And yeah, sure. The TSA person who has to check you in, I'm smiling and calling them by name too. You know, they got a name badge. You know, people. It's just, you know, it's so much fun.
It's about being seen. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's just fun to me. And I remember that. So life is about being like having fun. How can I have fun with whatever it is I'm doing? How can I have fun with it? You know, and it's when you start thinking from that standpoint instead of what's the next shoe that's going to drop? What's going to go wrong? What's the next thing that's going to go wrong in my life? Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference in the experience that you actually have.
Truly.
And I'm going to tell you one thing, that the issue that most people that I come across, have the most challenge with is actually believing in themselves and believing that if they change their mind, their life will change.
Mm-hmm.
That's their biggest challenge. And sometimes I just ask them straight up, you know, you ever thought about thinking differently? How are you feeling? You know, oh gosh, it's an opportunity. This isn't an opportunity for you to tell me how bad you feel. It's an opportunity to tell me about the good things that you feel. You know, and some people will get it. Some people will say, oh, it's so fantastic. I love the day. You know, it's so the sun's out and it's so beautiful. And I go, yeah, who's resonating with that, right? Resonating with energy. And then there are others who, you know, it's completely the opposite. And when I come across them, it's like it's an opportunity to be an example then, an example of what they can be, as Bashar would call it. An example of that. When you give them love, and they're not feeling it, they're not feeling the love, when you display love, they see that love is possible, that it's possible for them to feel that way because they've just seen it. Yep. They just see the smile on the face.
I think, Michael, it's about being the highest expression of your state of being, whatever that is. And you go beyond that lack, you go beyond the wanting, and you align yourself with the true creation of who you are. And Abraham, Carol Collins and the Teachers, Sarah Landon, they all say the same thing. It is fun. Experience this time in your life and live fully, love fully, be all that you are, and just come to that realization that is what we can choose in this time-space continuum that we're in right now. Because I think that's what we all came to do. And, oh, my gosh, I mean, I went to a concert last night.
I know. I saw the pictures. You were having fun.
Boy, did I have fun. My cheeks were, I was smiling and laughing the whole evening. We actually met in the afternoon, and I didn't get home until after, we'll go close to midnight. But my cheeks literally were fatigued because I was smiling and laughing so much. But how magical, how miraculous. I mean, that I can go back to that. I can go look at the pictures. Of course, those are moments in time. But guess what? The love and the friendship and the laughter are forever a part of me. And even if I'm having a challenging day, I'll remember that time. And what a blessing, and I'm so grateful.
Oh, yeah.
That I
saw nothing but absolute joy in those pictures, including the one where you hung out. I saw joy there. I saw fun. Wow. That's what I saw. I saw fun. You know, the best concert that I've been to in the past couple of years, and probably in my lifetime, was James Taylor. And
I thought you were going to say Casey and the Sunshine Band, because
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love Casey. Seen him twice. Saw him twice last year. And another great concert is Huey Lewis and the News when they were able to tour. I've seen him about 10 times. But James Taylor was really special because a lot of it has a depth of love associated with it. That every song for that entire 2 hours of his show would just hit you right in the heart. It was amazing.
And he sounds. Oh, I know. He sounds exactly, if not better, in person than he is on his records. It is chilling. I know exactly.
50 years, he sounds exactly the same. But here's the thing. He's amazing. When my girlfriend and I have this thing called the Serafina moment, we call it based on a restaurant in New York City when we actually recognize that we're feeling that way. And she asked me, she says, what is the Serafina moment to you? And I said, if I had to put words to that feeling, it would be nothing makes me feel happier. Let's say, hang on a second. I'm thinking about how it is now. I'm thinking about what it was. Nothing could make me happier than I am in this moment.
Oh,
nothing can make me happier than I am in this moment. That's what this we call a Serafina moment. You can call it whatever you want, but that's really it. When you look at somebody and you say nothing, no matter where you are, nothing could make me happier than I am in this moment, regardless of what's going on. If you can say that, you know that you're in the frequency of fun and love and joy. And I feel that a lot more. I'm more cognizant of that feeling now than any other time in my life because my everyday choice is fun and love and joy and happiness. You know, and letting the outside world interrupt that is a travesty. It really is. Letting the outside world get to you, or you're the person you're sharing your life with, letting them get to you like that. You know, you have the choice, and there's a lot of people out there in relationships that are, I don't know, quasi not as loving as they really should be, and for some reason they're still in them. And even if that's the case, nothing is stopping you from experiencing love and joy. You can give it, and you have to have no expectation for reciprocation. That's the other important thing about it, because that ruins it. That actually is it's not the same thing. You've got to be altruistic about giving your love. You have to give it with no expectation of receiving anything in return. Very, very important. As with any goal, as with when you're manifesting anything, you maintain the frequency. Now, I'm going to take this thing. There's the last piece from Abraham Hicks that I sent you. There was a question, and this is really interesting because somebody had asked the question of well, how do these people who are just terrible people continuing to amass all these things that we out here want as well? And why do they keep getting those things? And she said, because there's no interruption in their frequency. Their frequency is exactly the same. They know what they want, and they keep knowing what they want, and they're always focused on what they want, and they're resonating that frequency as if they have it already, even though it's not something you or I would do or many of our audience would do. We're not really greedy people, but even greedy people resonate the same frequency. They're on that frequency of greed, and they stay on that frequency of greed, right? It doesn't make me feel good. It's not morally acceptable to me to step on another person to get to the top. However, it's an example of the fact that when you decide that you want something and you resonate on that frequency, that is as if you already have it, and that's the only frequency you're on, and there's no doubt, there's no fear of it not coming to you, or any kind of doubt that it might not happen, or any impatience of when is it going to happen. It's just you just focus on it. You just drive forward, and you look at the people who are most successful, and they've never their feelings about themselves in terms of being deserving of success have never wavered from the very first moment they had the idea of what they wanted. It's never wavered. The actor's like that. My brother's been like that. He's like, it was a foregone conclusion in his mind that he was going to be successful. He just needed to jump through all the hoops. And I'm talking about some serious hoops that most people would quit after a year or two, right? That's the way that business is.
But he had enough vision for himself and enough self-love that nothing would deter him from his goal.
Yeah, that's true. He had enough confidence and faith in himself personally. And my brother's not a faith-driven person. He's the biggest pragmatist on the planet. And not spiritually connected or anything like that. He's brilliant. He's very educated, and he can talk on any subject, which is amazing. And we have great conversations, very heated conversations. But he has never ever had a doubt that he was going to be successful, ever. And
that's
regardless
fantastic.
of his circumstances, it's not like he went out and did things. He lived in the same apartment for much longer than anybody else would have, the same studio apartment, because he didn't want to add any financial burden to him, because he didn't know how his career was going to go. And this was fine with me. I'll stay here. And then after I've gotten sufficiently, successful and I've gotten some money in the bank, and then a sufficient cushion, I'll move to the next apartment. And then he moved to the third apartment. And then we went out, and when he got Star Trek, he bought a house. That's the first thing we did in the first year and a half. He knew he was going to be on for several years. And so we went out. I flew to L.A., and we were looking at houses. And he's still in the same house that he bought when he was on the show. And the beauty of it is that still to this day, he has the same drive in terms of being successful. Whether he's directing a film, going to direct a film, or he gets called for a guest starring role, whatever it is his agent calls him with, or voiceover, doesn't make any difference. He's got the same drive, and it's amazing and wonderful to see that he believes in himself that much. But he laid a foundation of belief in college when he did a lot of plays. He knows he's good at what he does, and everybody knows it. Very professional, comes in and does it. And so that's pretty much it. But listen, I want to say thank you to our audience for listening and sharing this podcast, the existence of this podcast with those people that you know. From the bottom of my heart, it's wonderful, and I'm so grateful for it. So appreciative.
Oh, absolutely, Michael. Thank you, and thank you to our audience. And I really, whatever your purpose is, know that loving energy that's within you is a gift, and share it wherever you can. And I know, Michael, you share it, and I share it whenever I can, and we're so grateful So from our hearts to yours, thank you. And until next time, enjoy a beautiful day.
You too.